Hello and welcome. Welcome to Trucking Answers. Hey, no cars to look around at today, so let's talk about this technology conference that just happened in Las Vegas. The biggest little city in Texas, as it's called. That's what's on the sign there. I read it. There was a technology conference about all kinds of in-cab things, and then they're talking about how can this technology help driver retention. It can't. It can't. One of the things they talked about, get this, is this going to, if your carrier put this out there in your truck, would this be the thing where you said, hey, I'm going to stay here because now they send local weather alerts to my tablet? Yeah, I forget how they put it, hyper local weather sending to your tablet. Yeah, that's not exactly what they said, but they're talking about, hey, what if we have weather and tell that to the truck drivers? And ironically, most of these tablets don't work when you're driving. So you may be able to get it read to you, but you wouldn't be able to see it. Radar is the thing. And I sometimes will run a radar on my phone when there's bad weather. I'll have the radar up and running on there. Do I need the company to send me weather? Well, you know, when we talk to drivers, and we'll get a bad storm, and then drivers are always amazed. They're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And I'm amazed at that. I'm like, how do you not know what the weather's going to be? So maybe they're getting enough of these that I see also where they're saying, you know, I guess we got to send weather to drivers. So they can't even figure out how to figure out what the weather is. So they get stuck in all these weather problems. But is that a retention thing? Is that seriously a retention? Where carriers, because it's mostly carriers that go to this technology thing, where they go and say, wow, I'm really going to learn here. And then they go back to their company and they go, wow, look at all I learned. You know, if we send drivers the weather and put a bunch of screens in their truck, they're way more likely to be retained. That's the dumbest thing ever. They only really had one thing talking about, which was some guy from Tenstreet, who I can't remember his name. And he said, look, you know, when you do surveys with drivers and stuff, then when they tell you something, actually go do it. Exactly. If you actually ask drivers something, then go do what they are saying. So if there's a large percentage of drivers that say, okay, this thing that we're doing here is not helping, it's bad, it takes my time away, it doesn't help me, something to that effect, or I'm forever getting hosed on this, or this doesn't work out, fix it. This technology, that is not the solution, right? All this technology is not going to help anybody. Because, like they said on The Office, right? Business is people. The carriers that have the lowest, the lowest turnover, right? The highest amount of retention, understand that drivers are people. Drivers are not technology. And you say, well, of course, Mark. Well, I'm going to say that's not always the case. That's not always the case. They should learn about each driver. And yeah, it takes time, right? We had a driver come, a few weeks ago. And sometimes they go with me because they'll have to go out with somebody for a day. So this guy went with me. And I talked to him, right, during my day. And when I went back, I go, this guy's not going to stay here. They go, whoa, what are you talking about? Oh, we interviewed him. I go, no. I go, he's not going to stay here. 2 days later, he went in and quit. He said, oh, it's not for me. Right. And I'm like, yeah, see? Because I talked to him. And after talking to him, I could see that this job, what we do, is not for him. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not for him. So he should move on. I never want people to stay in. But the company, if they'd have actually asked the right questions, they'd have known that. But companies don't seem to care. They, instead of wanting the right people, they just want people. And figure they'll just jam a bunch of screens in front of you, and you'll be so amazed, like you're, on a starship, that you never want to leave. And that's not the case. That's just not it. I don't know. I guess at some point, there's some college course that all these executives go through that says completely ignore your employees and do whatever some conference tells you to do with other people like you. I noted in this conference, I looked around, I couldn't find anything for drivers or where a driver was there speaking. None of that. Couldn't find any of that. It might have been there. I just didn't see it. But at no point did anybody have a driver come in. At no point did they have a group of drivers come and speak to the conference attendees who were mostly trucking companies. They don't want to hear from the person they're trying to retain. The one thing where they have all this retention work going on, and who do they not want to hear from? The person they want to keep. That's like if you went in your care and you go, you know what, I'm thinking about quitting. They go, oh. And then they have a bunch of meetings. And they talk to a bunch of other people. And they go talk to other people in the industry. That they never ask you anything. And then you come in and quit and they go, oh, holy crap. We try to get all this stuff in here and they still quit. They just don't get it. Most companies. The good carriers, they get it. And that's why they keep their people. It's just talking to people. Forget all your technology. Forget it. Go talk to the drivers. Thanks for watching, and if we're retained, we'll be back soon with another Trucking Answers.